Hi, YouTube fans. This is Matt of Post April 6th. When I filmed a YouTube vlog yesterday concerning Rear Window 1954, a movie that was directed and created and I think probably produced, unless I'm mistaken, by Sir Alfred Hitchcock. Sir Alfred Hitchcock was approximately 80 years old when he died, and he was alive from 1899 until 1980, where he died of renal kidney ailment. Serious problem he died from, unfortunately. Well, concerning the movie Rear Window, after the movie, the last 2 minutes that I showed at the beginning part of the YouTube blog, here's what happened next after I gave a greeting. I gave a hypothetical, mostly. A hypothetical that I would do if I were to make a sequel itself. It would be something like Rear Window 2, or Rear Window Part 2, or Rear Window 2 post 1970. It would have that type of movie title. And do I currently have the funds to finance such a thing, such a big motion picture endeavor? Nope. Do I have intentions of doing such a thing? Well, all I got to say is not right now. It may happen in the future, but then again, it may never happen. So I haven't decided on that. The other thing that I did when I discussed the part about Lars Thorwald being released from prison, because the majority of the plot of the Rear Window 2 type movie would take place in it would be concerning life in 1974. And one of the bloopers that I made, mistakes, was I was discussing slices of toast that would be toasted in a electric bread toaster, and I made it out by accident as French toast, which was kind of a dumb thing to do. And as I was discussing how the former inmate Lars Thorwald was released, he didn't go back to New York City or anywhere in the state of New York. He went to go out and live in Los Angeles because that's what he wanted to do. And that was the agreement that he made, probably with the parole board, to do. I did some antics where I did my own impersonation of how much he would be sitting in his apartment in a recliner chair, getting really drunk, and all types of, posture and facial expressions and body language he would have if he were really drunk, just sitting there watching TV over and over and over. I've had ideas for over 20 years about creating a Rear Window 2. But again, will I ever do it? Probably not. Or at least it's not likely. Do I have the money to do it, or do I have an ambition to save money for it? Nope. So that's what I thought I would do, as I would do my own intro that would be the next day, that will be an additive to what was filmed yesterday. Because showing the last 2 minutes, I bring up some interesting things, and showing and talking about what would be in the sequel would be pretty interesting, because all I got to say is I'm not going to give away the whole plot of the movie if I ever create it. But Lars Thorwald loses again. Yep. He gets in a high-speed police chase, and his car gives out, and I'm not going to say anything more. I'll give it all away. But please view my previous vlog of yesterday, and it's a vlog that's going to be all one match, that is going to be edited and carefully polished up as one vlog that will be done on January 9th, 2024. All right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the YouTube vlog and have fun out there. Drive carefully. Stay safe. God bless every one of you. And have a good day. Have a good evening. Have a good afternoon. Goodbye. Hi, YouTube fans. This is Matt of Post April 6th. What you just saw was the last scene in the movie Rear Window that was released back in 1954. Now, as all of you, or most of you know, I was personally not born at the time, and not only that, I wasn't born and came into this world as a new baby, itty bitty baby boy until 19 years later. Yep, 19 years later, in July 13th of 1973. The main purpose of why I showed that is because that's one of my favorite scenes. And what they're really getting at is, one, the apartment where the murder occurred, where Lars Thorwald killed his wife, and then chopped up her body into several pieces and scattered it in several parts of the nearby New York City, Greenwich Village borough area. It shows that the footage that's within the last scene of the apartment being cleaned up, painted, and had all the maintenance things done, like putting in either a new kitchen sink or new the main valves for the hot and the cold, and doing some spackling, doing a little bit of this, doing a little bit of that, so that the apartment just looked really spiffy and made the new tenant just love it and just want to be there and want to live there for many years to come. And it also showed that it showed Grace Kelly, who played Lisa Fremont. This was before she became Princess of Monaco, or Queen of Monaco. It shows her wearing a nice pair of ladies' slacks and a blouse instead of a dress. That was like really super high dollar. Yeah, that one of the dresses that was worn in that movie, I don't know if it was literally truthfully in real life this much, but it was so stylish it was worth $1,100. Whoa. $1,100 then is probably about the equivalency of at least $15,000 now. And I kid you not. It may be more like $20,000 to $22,000. I mean, even if you're a billionaire, I'm sorry, that's spending a little too much money. Yep. Yep. And here's the other main thing I'd like to discuss. I have thought for many, 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 many years about if I somehow gained the confidence with Paramount Universal, or either Paramount Pictures or Universal Pictures or something to that effect, that I would get I would pay the money, which would probably be hundreds of thousands of dollars, just to get the rights, or tens of thousands of dollars, like probably over $50,000 for sure, to create a sequel. And the sequel would have Lars Thorwald and a woman who had the same type of characteristics and, as close as possible, physical features and looks that Grace Kelly would have. And it would be Rear Window 2 or Rear Window the sequel, or Rear Window something. There would be a nice sequel or additional words that would have a nice thing to add to the title of the movie. Or like something like, I just thought of something. The plot would take place in 1974, not 1954. And it would be Rear Window, Part 2, post 1970, and it would happen. It would take effect in 1974. Okay, before when the movie starts, you would see a scene of L.B. Jeffries, or Jeff Jeffries, and his wife Lisa, who would become Lisa Jeffries instead of Lisa Fremont, sitting in a nice 1970s type decorated, not, rich person, but a really neat middle class look. And they'd be sitting in the kitchen, and first they would read the newspaper, and the newspaper was more than likely not going to be the New York Times or the New York Post. It would probably be because what they would decide to do after about 10 to 14 years after they'd been married is they would move to Los Angeles. And they would get involved in the movie industry. They would form a company where there would be script consultants, and they would do other types of consultant work towards the movies. And then what they would do is, after you would see them reading for a few minutes and talking about things back and forth for like, maybe 2 minutes, you would see Lisa Fremont get into a nice BMW, nice 1974 type BMW, possibly a BMW convertible. And then there's some darkness because it goes from one scene to another, and the two scenes don't have nothing to do with each other, literally, because what you see is in 1972, the warden and the parole board meets with him and said, "You've been a very good model prisoner. Your murder conviction was supposed to be 25 to life, and you've been in here for 18 years. We cannot release you right at this time. But what we are going to do is we are going to probably release you at some point after May 1st of 1974. And then what happens is after that, you see Thorwald go. You see Thorwald go back to his prison cell. He reads the Holy Bible. He starts reading a fiction book, and he starts just looking through a few words of a dictionary, probably a Webster dictionary or a Merriam-Webster dictionary, and then he crawls under the covers of his, one of those narrow beds, instead of one of those ones where it's bigger than this, like a queen or a king size. It's it's narrow, it's long, fairly long, and he goes to sleep. And then the next scene after that would be 2 weeks before he was released. And they call him in again into the warden's office, and also with the parole board. And they say, okay, here's what will be taking effect before you get released. Before you get released on May 8th of 1974, you're going to take some special training classes that we're going to hold just for you, and it's going to be a one-on-one training class on how to adapt to a new life. And we're also going to educate you on the cost of living, what the current events are, and some other things. And then what happens is, the next scene after that is him getting released from prison. And the suit he is wearing is the exact same type of suit he was wearing when he tried to throw Thorwald, or no, excuse me, not Thorwald. He tried to shove L.B. Jeffries out the window, and after the police pulled him off, he slips and he goes down, and 2 policemen catched him, and he broke both of his legs. The one that was already healing and was only a few days away from the cast being removed, and he all of a sudden, now he had 2 broken legs because of that. That's still very tragic. And they see him leaving the prison yard. He gets into a cab, a yellow cab or a red cab, something like that. One of those old checker brand ones, not something that would be like a Ford, a Chevy, or a Dodge or a Plymouth that had the taxi cab logo on it. It'd probably be a checker brand. And then he goes and he stays in not a flophouse hotel, but a cheap one. And then he has he eats at a restaurant. He goes and sees a movie. He goes out and he gets not a cheap cigar, but one of them cigars that probably cost at least $3-4 a piece. I mean, geez, $3-4 a piece in '74 would be the equivalent to over $25 frickin' now. I guarantee it. And it's one of those. It's not one of those cigars where it's this long or this long or this long. It's huge. It's what's called a Presidente, like the ones that Mike Ditka used to smoke. Yeah. Yeah, one of those great long dark Maduro cigars, or a green cigar. Yeah. And you see him wandering around somewhere in upstate New York instead of New York City. And then he boards either a Trailways or a Greyhound bus. And he takes a bus to Los Angeles, because he knows he can't determine exactly where where they live, and he tries not to make it his business, but he gets to LA, and I don't remember for sure, because when in '74 I was just an itty bitty teeny weeny little baby. I wasn't very big at all. I would after thinking about this for a few minutes, the cheapest apartment he could get that was decent, that wasn't a flop house, in '74 was probably at least somewhere between $285 and $400. Oh yeah. And a gallon of gas was somewhere between 48 cents and about 70 cents a gallon. Yeah. That was expensive back then, but now that's dirt cheap. That's what a lot of people wish the just the regular unleaded would be that much, and then premium unleaded would be no more than about $1.25 a gallon. And he gets a job working as a dishwasher, and he really works hard. He really hauls ass. He really gets a lot done. And the age that he would have been, we're talking about Lars Thorwald. And he wouldn't be played by Raymond Burr, but he'd be played by a guy who kind of looked like Raymond Burr, actor Raymond Burr. And he'd have white hair, and he'd have baggy eyes, and he'd be wearing thick horn-rimmed glasses. Something that would be a nice mid-70s look instead of that ugly, nerdy look. Something that make him look like a cool guy instead of a really ugly nerd. And he's wearing pullover Fruit of the Loom t-shirts, and he's wearing blue jeans that he probably got for $4 or $5 at a Army surplus place. The ones that be kind of like bell bottoms, and they got that dark blue color, and they're kind of stiff. They don't have that soft feel. They're kind of stiff, but he doesn't care. And then one day, he's leaving work. He's got his paycheck in hand, and it's probably not typed up. It's probably handwritten and signed. And he's got a check for for 1 week. And if he was making $400, or excuse me, if he needed to make a minimum about $700. Just a minute. Okay, I did some math, and I thought about this for a few minutes. Oh, goodness. I almost knocked over the table. My knee hit one of the legs of the activity table. Okay, I did some math, and I thought about this. The earnings that he would probably be getting per hour would be about $5 an hour. Yep. That'd be big bucks for dishwashing. And they paid it him mostly for age and experience, and because they want to see him get rehabilitated. So that would be about roughly $200 a week. $200 a week when you deduct 18% for taxes, which would be these: federal tax, state tax, local tax, FICA, Medicare, and Social Security. It would come to $164. So 164 times $4 equals 600 and here, let me get that right. $656. Oh, sorry for the light glare. Let me do it this way. $656. And okay, so that's $600. That'd be $656, not gross. It would be net pay. That's what he would have in his pocket. So 656. Wait a minute. $800. No. Okay. So $200. This is before all the taxes are deducted. Taxes and payroll scale deductions. It would be that much, $9,600 a year earnings. and he would be living in a one bedroom or a certain type of fairly large studio apartment that would be $288 a month. $288 a month in 1974 was big bucks. Nowadays, and it's in most major cities, $800 is going to be about the cheapest price you can pay for an apartment that ain't a flop house. Yeah, it's true. I mean, even an itty bitty teeny weeny studio that's going to be less than 300 square feet is probably going to cost you at least $800, guaranteed. Yep. Okay, I'm talking about nowadays. Okay, back to 1974 and what he was going through. Okay, so one day after he gets his paycheck and he walks out the door to head to a bank account that he's got established, a checking account, he sees Lisa and L.B. Jeffries holding hands, and they're walking in there. And he is, and he's just like, he's looking like that. You know what he wanted to do? He wanted to go over there and attack him. But he held his temper, and he didn't. So then what he does is he deposits the paycheck, and he withdraws about, I'd say about $25, $30, roughly. And he goes to a liquor store. He buys a big bottle of whiskey that he paid at least $6 for it. And you could buy some pretty good stuff like Seagram's or 10 High, maybe even Jack Daniels. Well, Jack Daniels might be a little bit more. It's going to be like $6, $7 back then. I mean, that's my assumption. You know, I don't drink alcohol, so I don't. You know, there's some things I just don't know about. Or he would buy. He would do this. He would spend about $4 on a fifth of whiskey, whatever it was, and then and then for another about $3, he would buy some wine. And this is good wine. This isn't cheap stuff. This isn't like what some people call $2 chuck. This is middle of the road wine. It isn't like high grade wine. And he goes home, and he's off for a couple of days. He's off for 3 days because of this. It would probably be like Labor Day, and he would get off Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, because the reason why he's off, and that's where he gets paid. I think what would be called half pay, because it's a holiday. It's a national holiday. And he has at least 2-3 glasses of wine, and with seltzer water and the whiskey, oh boy, he gets blotto. I mean, he probably had at least 3 or 4 doubles of that whiskey that was probably 90 proof. He was blotto. He doesn't go out and act really belligerently or anything like that, but he's just sitting there, and he's just sitting there in the on a recliner chair. He's just like sitting there watching TV. He's just like. watching TV, probably a black and white TV, just like. He's acting about like that. And then he falls asleep in his recliner chair, and he wakes up. He doesn't get sick to his stomach, but he wakes up the next day, and as soon as he wakes up, he's like, "Oh, oh," and he puts the comforter or the blanket on his bed over his eyes, and he's like, "Oh, oh, oh man, oh," and he stumbles into the bathroom pretty much at least only 60% awake, and he pops like 3 aspirins. You know, those white tablets of the aspirins you could use. You know, you could get a fairly big bottle for like less than $2 back then. And he goes, you know, he does that one bodily function that we don't talk about. And then he goes into the kitchen and he turns on his percolator, his electric, not a regular coffee maker, but one of those percolator ones. Yeah. he makes himself a strong cup of coffee. And he makes about 2 to 3 over easy eggs, some bacon, and he makes at least three slices of French toast with some cheap with some cheap grape. I'm sorry, some cheap grape jelly. I'm sorry, I'm having too much fun thinking how bad this guy would look. And then what he does is he starts searching, because he's got 3 different white pages. And he keeps looking for the phone number of Lisa Fremont and L.P. Jeffries. and he calls a few of them where it's just L and Jeffries or something like that. And nobody picks up the phone, and the one person that picks up, he just hears them say, "Hello? Hello? Hello? Hello?" Click. She hangs up the phone. Not good. Not good. And then what happens is he has enough money saved up. This is like 3 or 4 months after he's out. He buys a decent used car for about $300. It's probably an early '60s car. One of those rough-looking jalopies. Yeah. You know, an old Plymouth or an old Dodge. And he goes over to. He keeps looking and looking and looking for a house that he thinks they would live at. He can't find it. And then what he does is he starts he starts brainstorming, thinking of a way to get the phone number. And he goes to the public library, and he asks some librarians where they live. I mean, he goes to like 3 different LA County public libraries, and one person said, "Yeah, I know where he lives." And she said, "But don't go over there." She says, "If you want to write him a letter," and she takes out a sheet of paper that's one of those 8x11s, and she writes down the phone number, or no, excuse me, she writes down the physical address. And here's what he does. He goes and he buys a double cheeseburger, fries, and a milkshake. A chocolate milkshake. He goes to the address, and he drives in real slow, so he's not making much noise with the engine. He parks across the street. He doesn't do any smoking. And he starts looking at that place. And he sees Lisa. It would be one of the big windows right by the front of the house, walking back and forth through what would probably be a dining area or a second living room area. And then he goes to work after the 3 days are over. And one night, after working, probably it might be one of those places that's open 9 to 5, and they have to close early because the restaurant has to close early for maintenance purposes. So he works from 8 a.m. until about 2:33 p.m. He goes into a park, into where they have the public bathrooms. He changes clothes. He gets back into the car, and he carefully drives to this place. And what happens is, a neighbor who's 2 houses over this way from where they are just happens to get the gut instincts that this guy is stalking them. And then what happens is, when the police come to chase him down, to come over there, he can see it from his rearview mirror, and he immediately fires up his car, and he drives away, and he gets on a high-speed chase. And then what happens is, the guy is driving really fast down the freeway, where it's a time of night where there's not that much traffic. And then what happens is, he tries to turn up this way on a what would be called an off-ramp or a exit. And because he's been driving the car so fast, 2 things happen. The engine starts moving, boom, 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 and it really starts smoking. And he's I mean, he's driving like this because something happened in the steering because of the way he was driving around. And then he can't steer, and he's just like going like this, and he goes. He has a fatal car crash. Yep. He died of a fatal car crash. He should have held his temper. He should have not done that. Poor Lars Thorwald. He got released from prison probably over 20 to 30 years sooner than he should have. And he destroyed himself. What a terrible shame. Well, that's just a story idea I would have. But thank you, everyone, with my YouTube channel. Looking into the different YouTube video clips, the ones that I have in the movie trailers, and things will get more and more popular. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye. Thanks a lot.